So without wasting any time, this is the GPD XP. It's an Android gaming console that recently came out. I'm gonna try a bunch of emulators on it to see how it does. Let's get started. So firstly, I'm gonna try the PS1 emulator on the GPD XP. And you can find this one within an app called HappyChick. This app is not on the Play Store, so I have to download it from an APK. However, some aspects of the apps are in Chinese, so sometimes you would get lost in the app, but it's fairly easy to find the games of PS1. So the game I'm trying on PS1 is a very nostalgic game to me because I used to play it when I was a kid. The game released in 1999, which is just a year after the PS1 was released. And back then, we thought the game was amazing to play, and the graphics, I tell you, it was incredible for that time. And I actually remember how me and my friends used to say how realistic this game is and how we love to play it. But I mean, look at the game, it looks quite shit, but it's still fun to play. And I'm actually having fun playing it right now, so I do recommend it. So next I'm trying the Psp Emulator, which is also found in HappyChick. So the game I'm trying is Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories from the PSP. So let's see how the Psp Emulator does on the GPD XP. So the game runs consistently at 30 frames per second and above. And this is actually quite good for the Helio G95 inside help with the physical fan on this device. So even getting to a crowded area or beating the shit out of the NPC, the frame rate stays above 30 frames per second, which is quite good for this processor, and that means Psp Emulation works very well on the GPD XP. And I gotta say, if you're trying some Psp Emulation, try this game, I really recommend it. It was very underrated GTA, I think it's one of the best GTAs out there. Yeah, it's not as good as GTA San Andreas, but it's very good. So next I'm gonna try the Dolphin Emulator, which has both the GameCube and the Wii inside it. So for the GameCube, I'm gonna try one of my favorites, the Super Smash Bros. It's a game I used to play all the time when I was a teenager. The problem with this is, the built-in controller does not work natively on the Dolphin Emulator. But luckily with the GPD XP, you can map the buttons however you like, and that's what I'm gonna do to play the GameCube emulator. And as you can see here, after I mapped all the buttons to the buttons on the emulator, it works without any problems. This is an advantage you have for the GPD XP that is not on any Android devices. So let's choose a character and skip ahead to see how this game does on the GPD XP. As you can see from the top right of the screen, the frame rate stays on 60 frames per second, sometimes dropping to the 50s, and most of the time staying on 60 frames per second, which is quite good for the GPD XP. So next we're gonna try the GPD emulator, which is also run on Dolphin. So the same problem we have with this one, the built-in controller does not work natively for this emulator, so we have to map it ourselves. And bear in mind that the GPD XP will save your button mapping for each app, so whenever you open this app, the button mapping you've done has already been saved. To be honest with you, I have not played this game before, but it does look like the game from the Atari days, only in 3D. And the game runs on 40 frames per second and above, which is quite good for the GPD XP when emulating the Wii. It's worth noting that haptic feedback works on this as well as shaking, so because you have in the Wii you have to shake the controller to do certain things. As you can see here, when you shake it can fly, so it does take movement input by using the approximator on the GPD XP. And to be honest, this game is quite fun, so give it a try on your Android device. And lastly, let's do the Ps2 Emulator on the GPD XP by downloading the Play Emulator from the Play Store. It did take quite long for the game to load and the audio output was quite bad, so I had to shut it down. After that, the game got stuck on the starting screen, and whatever I do in the settings does not change anything. I tried changing the rendering thing, but it does make the game appear again, but you can't really run it or you can't really do anything. Even using the virtual controller, it does not really do anything. The game does not move, and the PS2 emulation was quite bad with this one. I could not really run it, and I don't know if it's the game or the emulator itself or the device, but this does not run on the GPD XP. And bear in mind, there are so many other emulators that I did not try in this video that exist in the HappyChick app. I'm not going to try them because they're so easy to run on most Android phones and they don't require a lot of power for them to be run, but I'm sure they would run perfectly on the GPD XP because firstly of the fan built in the phone that would keep the phone cold, and secondly of the built-in control that could map to any emulator that you want. So for the end of the video, I'm going to share with you a gameplay of the first mission of my favorite childhood game, Pepsi Man. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, subscribe, and peace.